Welcome to my channel. This is your horoscope for the full moon in Capricorn happening on 13th July 2022. So let's talk about it. Now for this video, I am going to talk about this full moon and the aspects and what all this means. And then I'm going to talk about where this full moon is happening for your particular sign. Right, and I would recommend watching your rising sign and then your sun sign. If you don't know your rising sign, that's fine. Then you can always just watch your sun sign. So let's get started. Now, a full moon is when the sun and the moon oppose each other, right? They make a 180-degree angle. And that's what a full moon is. And in astrology, a full moon represents a point of completing something, right? It's a point where we begin to get more clarity about something that we might have been in the dark about, or we might have been a little uncertain about, or a little confused about, or, in the process of deciding about. So full moon is when we can, get that clarity to see something. Yeah, okay, you know what, I've been thinking about this, I didn't know back then, but now I kind of know, I can see it better. So that's a full moon point. It's also a point of completion. So maybe you've started something before, right? And this is the point where things begin to complete themselves on full moons. Full moons are also emotionally charged, right? And what I mean by that is they are a point where we do a lot of emotional releasing. Whatever's going on within, on full moons, it can all come out. It can be like a catharsis, a release. So that's why emotions run high on a full moon, right? The energy of a full moon, although it's this point where we begin to see things, it's this point where things are completing themselves, things are ending as well, right? Emotionally, we are charged up. So that's something to consider on every full moon, not just this one. And in a nutshell, that's what a full moon is. Now, this full moon is happening in the sign of Capricorn, right? And generally speaking, when a full moon is in a particular sign, general themes associated with that might come about, right? Might. But what's more important is where this full moon lies in your chart, right? Which house. And I will tell you which house it is in the sign section of this video. And before we move on, this video, I will put the timestamps for this video so you can click on whichever part you want to watch and go directly to that. So coming back to what's more important, it's more important where this full moon falls for your particular chart to know exactly how this energy is going to impact you, and I will get into that in the sign section. But generally speaking, Capricorn is a sign of accomplishments, right? It's the sign of reaching the top. It's the sign of decisions, of discipline, of dedication, of doing something consistently, persistently for the long run. That's Capricorn energy. I'm not saying if you're Capricorn, you're these things. I'm just saying Capricorn energy is like that. So that's what Capricorn is, right? And Capricorn is also a very karmic energy. It's a Saturn ruled sign. Saturn is the planet of karma. So that makes Capricorn the sign of karma as well. And what this can mean, very generally, very broadly speaking, is that decisions, doing something with a long-term vision, or karma, all these things are magnified, highlighted. These are the themes of this full moon. Now let's talk about the energy that this full moon is bringing, and for that we will talk about the aspects. So the most important aspect, according to me, is the fact that this moon is right next to Pluto. Right, this is Pluto, and Pluto is the planet of transformation. It's the planet of ending something. It's the planet of total release. If there's stuff going on within, Pluto brings it to the surface. If there's something hidden, Pluto will reveal it. That's what Pluto does. But whatever it does, right, one thing it definitely does is that it leads to transformation. Whether that's through ending something, whether that's through emotional release, whether that's through, hidden things coming to the surface, that doesn't matter. But what it does is that it leads to this transformation. And the moon is sitting right next to Pluto. And this to me means that there's this moon is an extremely transformative one, right? Sitting right next to Pluto. Now, this could be a transformation that comes through internal things. This could be a transformation that comes through something in your life, but it is that transformative energy, right? So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is that this energy right here, Moon Pluto, is trining Uranus North Node. Now let's talk about the Uranus North Node for a minute. Now Uranus is the planet of change, right? It's this change that comes out of nowhere, right? Suddenly, unexpectedly, that's what Uranus brings, changes. And it's sitting next to the North Node. The North Node is, yes, the future. That's one representation of what the North Node means. But the North Node is also a magnifier, right? Very similar to Jupiter, very similar in the sense that it magnifies something. And Uranus is being magnified by the North Node, right? Those sudden changes, those changes out of nowhere, a lot of energy. Uranus is a lot of energy as well. That's all being magnified with the North Node there. So there's a lot of energy about change right now. There's a lot of energy about changes that can happen unexpectedly in our lives right now. And that's because Uranus here is getting closer and closer to the North Node. And Uranus and the North Node will meet up by the end of this month, 31st July, right? And that's when we'll feel the intensity in full force of this change, of this sudden change that might take place to align us with the future. But we are feeling the build-up from now. And one thing I'd like to say is that this is not a very common energy, right? The North Node Uranus conjunction is happening after many, many years. The last time this conjunction happened, the last time Uranus and the North Node met up, was back in 2007, right? 15 years ago. So we are seeing this energy come together after 15 years, this energy of sudden unexpected change. Uranus is also the planet of immense energy, right? So we can be feeling a lot of energy just in general because it's a lot of energy, but it's primarily to do with change. Uranus will change something. And that's relevant because this moon right here is trining, making a positive aspect with Uranus and the North Node conjunction. Now the energy of the moon, which is about transforming, which is about transforming through completing something or through releasing something, is making a positive aspect with this energy that's about big changes, right? And what this means to me is that what we are transforming on this full moon is so that we can align, is so that we can prepare for the changes that are coming up at the end of the month. And we are already feeling it. We're already feeling it. We're already working on it. And we're already working on it because Mars here, let me clean up the chart before I move on. Mars here, right, it entered the sign of Taurus where this conjunction is going to happen on July 5th. Right, and Mars is action. Mars is taking action. Mars is doing things. Mars is our energy. So our energy is already focused in a way on the change that's building up for us at the end of the month. And this moon is that point of completion or release or ending something, right, which will help us align more with that change that's building up, help us prepare for what's coming. And that's the most important thing. Now Mercury here is opposing the moon, right? It's sitting right next to the sun, and Mercury is our thinking, it's our communication. So what this means to me is that maybe, right, all these changes that are happening, however we are transforming, can influence our thinking, it can influence our mind, it can also influence our routine. Maybe we begin to change up our routine, maybe we begin to change up our thinking, our lifestyle to align or prepare for the changes that are building up at the end of the month. And one more thing is that, okay, before we move on, right? Let's talk about that. So Venus here is going to trine Saturn on the moon as well. Venus is the planet of our projects, it's the planet of our relationships, it's the planet of our self-worth, it's the planet that rules how we look, right? Our appearances. It's the planet to do with beauty. So beauty, finances, self-worth, values, skills, relationships, all these are ruled by Venus, and it's making a positive aspect with Saturn. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, where we have this full moon, and Saturn is also representative of decisions. It's representative of restructuring something, and now it's contacting Venus in a positive way. So on the full moon, right, we can actually really begin to restructure things associated with Venus: relationships, projects, self-worth, values, skills, appearances. We can begin to take a decision or become closer to taking a decision with this aspect. So this transformation that we are going through with the full moon can lead to a decision as well, or could be because of a decision or something restructuring in our lives, right? And Venus here is going to square Neptune. Now Neptune usually does bring confusion, especially in a challenging aspect such as a square, but the way to navigate Neptune, right, is by surrendering, is by embracing intuition. So if you're feeling confused, right, if you're feeling confused, go with your gut as well, right? Listen to your gut, because Neptune is all about listening to that inner voice, listening to that intuition to help you decide, right? Venus Saturn. So if you're feeling on edge, if you're feeling like, should I do this, should I do that, then the best thing would be to maybe go with your gut, right? Go with your gut. And I think that sums it up. That sums it up for this moon. So in a nutshell, it's an extremely transformative one, a transformation to help us prepare for the changes that are building for all of us, and that will happen at the end of the month with this Uranus North Node conjunction, right? This one. And decisions are can come easier. Restructuring things can happen in an easier way with this full moon. And if there's confusion, listen to your gut, go with your intuition. So that's the moon in a nutshell, right? That's the moon in a nutshell, because the moon here is also sextiling Neptune. Intuition is important. So one more thing I want to mention before we get into the signs is that Saturn here has been squaring the nodes, making a 90-degree angle with both the North Node and the South Node. And the square came exact in the month of April, right? So since then, even before, Saturn has been squaring the nodes, and any planet in a square with the nodes is usually magnified. And right now, since then, especially since April, before that also, Saturn has been magnified. And Saturn is the planet of decisions, yes, of karma, yes, but also of limitations and restrictions. And it is also acting as that vessel, acting as that energy that's helping us navigate from the past, the South Node, Ketu, into the future, the North Node, Rahu, right? So through decisions, maybe through hard work, through karmic things, we're letting go of the past and stepping into the future. But this process has felt limiting and restricting just because of the aspects that are going on. And this is relevant right now because Saturn here is still squaring the nodes, which means it is squaring Uranus as well. It is squaring the Uranus North Node conjunction, right? And what this means is that it's lending a grounding influence to the Uranus North Node conjunction energy, and that's a good thing because Uranus is extreme energy, right? Extreme energy that's sudden, and Uranus energy does not feel very easy, okay, because it's about sudden change. It's about extremes of energy. Extreme energy one moment, nothing the next. That's Uranus. And it brings these big changes. And with the North Node there, which is magnifying Uranus, big changes, big changes. So Saturn here is limiting that. It's helping us restrict that, right? It's saying, yeah, Uranus, North Node, change, go for it. But, you know, there's going to be some control to this. There's going to be some order to this. There's going to be some structure to this. So Saturn squaring this energy in a way is helping us lessen the intensity of the big changes that might happen if Saturn was not squaring this energy. So that's the moon in a nutshell, and I know I did talk a lot about the Uranus North Node, but that's the highlight of July, right? That's what we are building up to, and the build up is everything, right? Build up is everything, because once it happens, yes, we'll feel it then, but we are in the process. We're in the process right now. And I have this in my chart, by the way. I have Uranus conjunct the North Node in my chart, and I also have Neptune there. So I have the North Node, then I have Uranus, and then I have Neptune, and the Sun is also in the same house. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that. And yeah, now let's get into the signs, right? Let's get into the signs. So I'm going to put off the chart now, and we'll talk about what this moon might bring for your particular sign. Aries, for you, this moon is going to fall in your 10th house of business and career, right? So that transformative energy may be connected to business and career, and the Uranus North Node conjunction for you is going to be in your 2nd house, right? So the change that you're building up to that will happen at the end of the month is to do with the 2nd house, financial matters. It's to do with your skills, self-worth, values, appearances. So these are the two areas that are extremely highlighted for you right now, Aries. Now moving on to Taurus. Taurus, for you, Capricorn is your 9th house, right? So a lot of completions or transformations connected to the 9th house. Maybe travel is on the cards, maybe something to do with your philosophy, maybe something to do with learning something, or something to do with connecting with different cultures, right? That's the 9th house. And if you are into publishing and that sort of thing, then something completing itself there as well for you. Now Taurus, this is a big month for you because the Uranus North Node conjunction for you is in your 1st house, right? Big changes coming to you, connected to you, right? Your identity, how you present yourself to the world, how the world sees you. If you're in a leadership position, then to that, right? But basically you, the change is all about you, Taurus. Now moving on to Gemini. Gemini, Capricorn is your 8th house, right? And the 8th house is the house of transformation. So maybe this can be an overall transformation for you. The 8th house is also the house of intimacy and investments and the occult. So maybe something completing itself or transforming for you in that house, Gemini. Now the Uranus North Node conjunction for you, Gemini, is going to be in your 12th house, right? So the 12th house is to do with closing out the past. It's to do with releasing the past from your subconscious. It's to do with your subconscious. It's to do with your spirituality. It's to do with drugs, delusions, addictions, depression, if those apply to you, Gemini. So the Uranus North Node conjunction can bring changes to any one of these areas for you, Gemini, right? Maybe a big closing out the past, maybe big changes to your subconscious, maybe big changes to your spirituality, or big changes to drugs, delusions, addictions, depression, if that applies to you, Gemini. Now moving on to Cancer. So Cancer, for you, Capricorn is your 7th house, right? So this moon energy is in your house of relationships. Now these are the legal relationships you have, right? The marriage, spouse, business partner, mother-in-law, father-in-law, that sort of thing. It's also the house of business partnerships. So some energy there for you with this moon in that house. Now the Uranus North Node conjunction for you is going to happen in your 11th house, which is the house of being social. It's the house of your groups, your social friends. Now these are not your close friends, but more like the acquaintances, not your close friends, but everybody else, right? It could be a book club you belong to. It could be anything like that. It could be your hopes, goals, and dreams, Cancer. So the moon energy is in your 7th house of relationships, and the change that you're building up to is in your house of being social, of your groups, of your hopes, goals, and dreams. Now let's move on to Leo. So Leo, for you, Capricorn is your 6th house. So this moon energy is in your 6th house of your day-to-day, of your routine, of your job, of health, habits, diet, lifestyle, that sort of thing. And the change that you are building up to, Leo, with the Uranus North Node is connected to the 10th house. It is in your 10th house of business, of your career, of your social standing, of your public image. Now let's move on to Virgo. So Virgo, the moon in Capricorn is falling in your 5th house of love and romance and creativity and hobbies and fun and pleasure, right? So the moon energy will be felt in these areas for you. And the Uranus North Node conjunction for you, Virgo, is in your 9th house, right? 9th house is to do with travel, foreign travel. It's to do with learning things. It's to do with higher education, your beliefs. It's to do with connecting with foreign cultures. If publishing applies to you, then it's to do with that. So the big changes that you are building up to with the Uranus North Node conjunction is in your 9th house of foreign travel, of learning something new, connecting with other cultures, the areas that I just mentioned. Now let's move on to Libra. Libra, for you, Capricorn is your 4th house, right? The 4th house is to do with family and friends, close friends, close friends, not social people, but close friends. It's to do with your home, it's to do with property, it's to do with your inner self, the deepest part of you. So this moon is in your 4th house. This full moon energy is in your house of home, family, your deepest emotions, right? Property, all these themes. So it's going to influence you in this area. Now moving on to the Uranus North Node conjunction for you, Libra, that's falling in your 8th house. And the 8th house is to do with transformation. It's to do with intimacy. It's to do with the occult. It's to do with hidden things. So what could be happening is that you're building up to an overall transformation, or it could be a transformation to the intimate relationships in your life, or to investments if that applies to you, right? Or to the occult if that applies to you. But the 8th house is basic overall transformation. So that's what you're building up to with the Uranus North Node in that house. That'll happen at the end of the month, Libra. Now Scorpio, let's talk about what's happening with you. So Capricorn, Scorpio is your 3rd house, right? So this moon energy of transformation or ending something, beginning something is impacting your 3rd house of your mind, of communicating with other people, right? Of reaching out, of people reaching out to you. It's also the house of your immediate environment, right? So something connected to that as well, Scorpio. It's also to do with your peer group, your siblings, so something to do with that as well, completing itself, transforming itself, Scorpio. And the Uranus North Node conjunction for you, Scorpio, is in your 7th house of relationships, right? Of legal relationships, marriage, spouse, business partner, mother-in-law, father-in-law, that sort of thing, and also legal issues. So big changes building up for you in your house of relationships. That will happen at the end of the month, Scorpio. Moving on to Sag. Sag, this moon is in your house of finances. The 2nd house is the house of finances. It's the house of your appearances. It's the house of self-worth, values, and skills. So something completing itself, transforming itself, connected to financial matters, connected to your appearance, connected to your skills, values, or self-worth. And the Uranus North Node conjunction for you, that is bringing this change, right, is in your 6th house of your health, of your job, of your diet, of your lifestyle, of your routine, right? Big changes there building up for you, Sag. Now Capricorn, this full moon is in your 1st house, which means it is all about you. So something completing itself, transforming itself, connected to you, your identity, how you present yourself to the world, how the world sees you, all those sort of things, Capricorn, right? And the Uranus North Node conjunction for you is going to be in your fifth house, right? And the fifth house is the house of love, of romance, of creativity, of children, of hobbies, fun, pleasure. So big changes building up for you surrounding these themes till the end of the month, Capricorn. Now, let's talk about Aquarius. So, Aquarius, the full moon in Capricorn is in your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of closing out the past, it's the house of your subconscious mind, it's the house of spirituality, creativity, of drugs, delusions, addictions, and depression if they apply to you, right, Aquarius? So, the full moon energy will be maybe transforming something, completing something in your house of closing out the past, in your house of releasing the past, in the house of spirituality, the house of drugs, delusions, addictions, and depression, if that applies to you, Aquarius. And the Uranus North Node conjunction for you, Aquarius, is in your fourth house, right? So big changes building up for you at that'll happen at the end of the month, connected to your home, connected to your family, connected to your roots, your ancestors, where you come from, your property if that applies to you, right? So big changes building up for you in matters of your deepest emotions, of your family, of your home, of your closest friends, of where you come from, of property. So that's for you, Aquarius. Now moving on to Pisces. Pisces, this moon is in your 11th house. So this moon energy of transforming and completing is connected to your social circle. It's connected to the groups that you belong to. It can also be connected to your hopes, goals, and dreams, right? And the Uranus North Node conjunction for you, Pisces, which will happen at the end of the month and which will bring change, is to do with your third house, of your mind, of thinking, of communicating, of your immediate environment. Maybe you change up your immediate environment. Maybe you change up how you think, how you communicate. If you are into marketing, social media, computer programming, editing, math, all that sort of stuff, that's also the third house, right? So big changes there for you as well if that applies to you. But with Uranus and the North Node in the third house for you, Pisces, a lot of changes in your mind, in your thinking, in your communication, peer groups, siblings, and all the other areas that I just mentioned. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and now I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.